It's a weird combination because it's got the fresh fruit, but it also has the Oloroso thing going on, and it's just an interesting contrast in flavors.
What's up, folks?
Hey guys, it is Scotch for Dummies.
We're guys
Four
on
of
the
them.
Scotch journey to help you with your next Scotch purchase.
Could be a limited release Glenmo.
It's green.
Or orange.
Should be a Glenmo. Actually, it's Glenmo 12-year-old statement. 46% ABV. It is 8 years in ex-bourbon, 4 years in Palo Cortado casks, which is why I picked it up. It's very interesting. $75, I want to say, at Benny's in Chicago, if you happen to be in that area. But it's definitely going to be a little bit different of a Glenmorangie than we're used to, and that's why
Very good.
that's why I picked it up, because the finish on it is interesting to me, and that's Palo Cortado. And just what is Palo Cortado?
That's fancy.
We got it's fancy. It's rare.
It's rare, exactly. It basically is a sherry wine that starts off to become a Fino, and Finos have yeast caps on them, and that prevents them from oxidizing. That's what makes them, unique. But for some unexplained reasons, some of these yeast caps just evaporate, deteriorate, and break down. And once that happens, oxidation happens to the wine, and it becomes Palo Cortado, which actually is how Oloroso is made. It doesn't have the caps on it. So they say that this is the perfect blend of Fino and Oloroso sherry. But Sean has the numbers on just how many casks of Palo Cortado.
So we're looking at 100,000 bottles. Of
bottles or casks?
Bottles.
Shit, that ain't nothing.
Of Palo Cortado versus 6 million bottles of all the other kinds
Oh,
of sherry.
that's no big deal.
So it's pretty freaking
small.
rare.
But it's not so rare that you can't find it, right?
Right.
Like it's out there. You can try it. To me, it's comparable to like ice wine, right? Like it's rare, but it happens, and when it does, you can have some. Like it's not so rare that you never see it, right? But it is a vanishingly small amount compared to the total.
So interesting that the distillery is going to use that as a finishing cask for 4 years, mind you, which is actually a pretty long finish. You know what I mean? That could almost be considered a second maturation.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Palo Cortado cask, or the sherry itself is light.
Right.
It's a light sherry, so you may need that extra time to really kick it in the flavor.
All right, so 4 years, 46% ABV.
Let's just say it $80. I think I paid $74.99.
To the nose?
To the nose.
To the nose.
To the nose.
Light sweetness on the nose.
It's
So
fruity.
honestly, I'm getting a little bit more vanilla. This has been sitting in the glass now for, I don't know,
A few minutes, yeah.
yeah, 5 to 10 minutes with a cap on it. It still is surprisingly light. It smells delicate to me.
It is delicate, but there's quite a bit of fruitness going on there. It doesn't have the separation of fruitness, but I can tell there's like orange and strawberries and a few other things going on, but it's very light and delicate, sweet.
It's fresh fruit. It's
Yeah.
not the oxidized
Yeah.
Oloroso.
I honestly do
I
get a
do.
little bit. I was going to say
Right.
I get a little bit of a note of that of oxidation in it.
yeah.
Well, I'm getting some nuttiness.
It's there
Yeah.
too. It's like a tea.
Yeah,
right?
okay, sure.
like
Yeah.
a fruit tea?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Almost a little green tea, a little bit too, I think.
it's interesting. All right, man. I'm going
going
in
in
for
too.
this.
Going in, huh?
Hello. White pepper up front. Ooh, that rolls back into a nice sweet sherry. Sweet. No, I shouldn't say super sweet. It's
Yeah, man,
just
it's
sweet.
delicate.
It's a nice sweet.
It's a really delicate whiskey.
I still get some wood on it though.
Yeah, because I'm getting, the base bourbon aged whiskey with just a almost a white wine kind of flavoring sweetness to it. It's not like a heavy Oloroso sherry bomb. I'm not getting that punch, those raisins and
No,
No,
nothing
fruits.
like that.
But there's just a little bit there.
To me, it's interesting because I get on the first sip, especially, it was fruitier. I still get the white pepper, and it's a little bit layered, I guess, because I get the white pepper kind of on the bottom of the palate, and the fruit flavors kind of feel like they stay towards the top of the palate a little bit. But the second sip, I got a little more of that oxidized
I would agree with
flavor going on, and got a little bit more of that like like old book,
really?
black tea, just a hint.
I'm getting a little tea, but the book.
But it's a weird combination because it's got the fresh fruit, but it also has the Oloroso thing going on, and it's just an interesting contrast in flavors. Every time I take a sip, it comes together more.
So, interestingly enough,
nice.
I do get
I'd agree
a
with
bit
you
of
on
a
that.
green grass note in it, like a green
Really?
straw. Freshly cut green
nice.
straw.
Yeah, I'm not getting that.
I do get a lot of vanilla on it, probably from that ex-bourbon 8-year maturation.
Yeah, it's coming together better now.
That now I've got wood. I did not have that wood in a second. That's really nice.
I just
actually.
put a little
It
bit
is.
of water, a little bit for 46%. I just want to see what it does to it.
The nose
Does
is
anybody
nice
get that
with water.
classic Glenmoe distillery?
A little bit.
Yeah.
You finding Glenmoe in this?
Well, it's a light, delicate spirit.
On the
so-
initial sip, it was, I think, more prominent.
Yeah, probably.
Now that I'm like really kind of trying to pay attention to more of the finish and the sherry notes that I'm getting, I think that it's maybe a little bit less Glenmoe-y.
One thing to mention about Glenmoe and why you would get that Glenmorangie, distinct character is because of their stills, right? You know, they've got
Yeah.
unique stills. They claim to be the tallest in Scotland, right? So you're going to get a different flavor profile. Traditionally, Glenmorangie starts all of their whiskeys with their base 10. Now, I shouldn't say all. They do have eclectic bottlings out there that aren't starting with the 10, such as this one. They cut it short at 8 to start the finishing. But I still think it
It's the
holds
family. The
character.
family is there.
It still holds the character of Glenmorangie.
They're distillate, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's there for sure.
Did you put water on it?
I just did.
The nose is
I would agree.
really
the,
nice.
The nose is better with water.
It's really nice.
Tonight, with my nose tonight,
Yep.
it was, yeah.
Oh, it brings out definitely a much more lighter, honestly, light strawberry is what I'm getting, but almost a floral note. It's definitely opened up a little bit, but it makes it a lot more lighter, and it was delicate and light to start with.
Yeah. So 75, 80 bucks.
75,
12-year-old.
80 bucks. 12-year-old, which 75, let's just call it 80 bucks and say that's expensive for a 12-year-old, although I'm willing to give them a little bit of a slide on the finishing because of those casks and,
Yep.
you know, that there's expense to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'll
And
go,
it's a
man.
4-year finish.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm always leery about one-off stuff from anybody, not just from Glenmorangie, but you know, because sometimes it's a gimmicky thing, right? Like, you know, they're putting stuff into like weird casks to bump up their price $20 and you know sell a few extra bottles. I don't think that's the case here. I find it interesting that they chose the Palo Cortado. I think it's a unique cask, and not everybody would even know what it is. So you'd have to probably do a little bit of research
Yeah.
if you even came across this bottle to even figure out what you had. I don't think the price point is too bad for a 12-year. I really like the Scotch, both neat and with water. It had interesting flavors. They kept changing. The nose adjusted in the glass. I didn't really lose anything on the nose or the palate with water. It just gave me different elements of what was already in the glass, which I enjoy. It didn't really tame anything down per se. It just allowed me to explore it more. And I think if I put water on it again, it would probably give me some different aromas and flavors to play with. So in that regard, it's a really fun glass. I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. I really enjoy it. I would like to have a second glass, so that's always a good sign.
Yep.
I'll probably pour another one while these guys are talking.
Yep.
Mark?
I'm still thinking. I'm stuck between a number.
I'll go. So I would say this is a solid 3. And let me give you a couple of reasons beyond what we've already talked about. The refinement of this whiskey is really nice. And while this isn't necessarily my everyday wheelhouse, I really enjoy this whiskey. I think it's delicately balanced. I think it doesn't overpower in any one way. The pepper and the heat kind of does hit a little bit on the front palate. Like put a little water in it or give it do a second or third sip and that goes away. I really like the balance of the delicate bourbon influence and the lighter that Palo Cortado sherry just really blends well together. So I think they did a great job formulating this whiskey. And so a 3 is something I would have this on my bar. I would serve it to friends as a profile of whiskey. I think it's a great example.
You didn't help.
Thanks.
Because that's the other number I was stuck between.
Come on.
All right, I'll go. So here's where I'm at. I'm stuck between a 3.5 and a 3, and I heard some things that Andrew said that was, he started off with a 3, and I'm like, okay, I get it. But then I heard the things he said about it, and I was like, well, shit, that's a 3.5. But then, I heard
that's fair.
Sean say the same thing. He said 3.5, and then he said another 2, and as he was talking, I was thinking about what I was experiencing, and I'm like, damn, it's a 3. So I'm really torn. I want to give it a 3.25, can't do that. And in my mind, in the Scotch for Dummies world, I always round down when I'm stuck with that. So by virtue of just trying to make myself happy, I'll say 3. It's a really good whiskey. The price point for a base 12, I would say is high. I would give them the push because there's definitely an added expense when you're throwing in a 4-year Palo Cortado finish. Based on the rarity of that wine, means the rarity of those casks, which means an expense to the distillery. I'm excited that they tried this and they did this and they put it together. I do think they put together a really balanced whiskey. I think it's really enjoyable from beginning to end. I think it's worth having for an eclectic, different flavor profile on your bar. Sure, you're going to pay a little bit more for a 12, but it's worth having there just because of what it is. So, hats off to Glenmo for doing it again.
Yeah, I mean, what you guys said.
Yes.
I mean, honestly,
All right, we'll wrap this up then.
It's really between a 3 and a 3.5 for me as well. I will go 3, and here's why I'll say that. And based not on what you guys said, just based on my own palate. I think the white pepper thing is a little bit off-putting, a little bit here and there, but does go away, but still there a little bit. I think it's a very light and delicate whiskey, as we talked about. So you need to go into that knowing that. And the price is a little high. For if I was going to buy this bottle, I would buy this bottle for what it is and what I'm tasting. I enjoy it,
too.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something you need to spend some time with. It's not going to punch you in the face. It's going to be something you need a little nuance, right? You're going to get through it a little bit and kind of taste all the flavors. But it's a well done, put together bottle, and I'm going to give it a solid 3.
Solid 3.
There you go.
So we got 3 3s and a 3.5.
3.125.
We'll take that.
That's not bad. So
That's great.
hats off to Glenmorangie for putting an interesting bottle that we enjoy. And if you can find it, you probably want to pick it up. It does say limited release.
There you go.
There you go.
Did it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
2, 1.